I know you're anxious to start learning WordPress, but before we do, I need to point out something that's very important. There are actually two different versions of WordPress. If you go over to Google and search for WordPress, you can see them. These top ones here are ads, but the very first item is WordPress.com. Now, WordPress.com is a service that offers you a free website, but there are a lot of restrictions. And it's a cut down version of WordPress. It's not the full version of WordPress. The full version of WordPress is one that you can install on a web host, and that comes from wordpress.org. Now, I want to tell you from the outset that this course is about the wordpress.org WordPress. It's the one that you install on a web host. That doesn't mean to say you have to have a web host to learn WordPress, because this course will also show you how you can take the WordPress from wordpress.org and install it on your own computer so that you can use it and learn WordPress without the expense of a web host. And then when you're ready, you can get a web host, you can get wordpress.org installed on that web host, and you can start building your website there instead. Before we do that though, I do want to show you the free WordPress very briefly over at wordpress.com. So let me just click through on that. And over on this site, you can get started or log in if you've got a wordpress.com account. But before we do that, let me just click on See Plans, because I want to show you the different plans. The free version is totally free for life. However, there are a lot of restrictions. And if you want to see what the restrictions are, you can scroll down a little bit down to the table down below, and you can find out what those restrictions are. One of the main restrictions that most people can't live with is that the free version of WordPress will have ads on there. And those are ads by WordPress, not ads by you, because you're not allowed to put ads on your website. If you want to see what the various versions of WordPress are, then come along here, have a look at those various options in the tables and see which ones you would want. You can see here that this level, the second one, which is personal, will allow you to remove ads, but it will still have restrictions, and that's what you really need to go and investigate. That one is $2.99 per month, which is about the same as, this is pounds by the way, not dollars, so it's in dollars it's going to be more. So £2.99 a month, which is very similar to the cost of a web host. Now, for the amount of extra flexibility and freedom you get with a web host, that is the way to go, wordpress.org every time. So I don't recommend these free WordPress sites. But let's get started. Click on the Get Started and we'll set one up very quickly so I can show you. And when you click on that, you're taken to a screen that asks you what sort of site you want to set up. So let's just say we're going to set up a blog. Choose a theme, and I'm going to call it My WordPress Site, because it's not going to be a real site. It's not going to be something that I'm actually going to develop. It's purely for this tutorial. Now it comes up with some recommendations here. We've got My WordPress Site 11.wordpress.com. That is free, and I can have that one if I want to. You'll notice that that domain is actually what we call a subdomain. The main domain is wordpress.com, and it's a subdomain on wordpress.com. That subdomain is My WordPress Site 11. So the URL to get to my website, if I chose that, would be My WordPress Site 11.wordpress.com. And that shows one of the limitations of this. You don't get your own domain name, and in fact wordpress.com owns your website. If you break their rules, if they just don't like you for some reason, they can close your website down. Okay, not if they don't like you, but if you do something against their terms, they can close your site without any notice, and your site will be gone, and there's nothing you can do about it because you don't own it. It's free, it's on wordpress.com, and wordpress.com owns your site. You can see that it does offer alternatives here that allow you to use a real domain. Look, if you've already got a domain, but you'll notice that these are only included in WordPress premium accounts, which are £7 per month billed annually. If you pay monthly, you'll be paying more than that, and that is more than you would pay for a web host. So that's another reason why I don't recommend wordpress.com. But let's have a look. Let's create a free site here. Clicked on the free domain that they offered me, and now I've got this table of options. I'm going to pick on the Start with Free, and I've got to put in an email address and create my account here. So I'm going to pause the video until I've done that. Okay, I've put in a Gmail address. I'm putting in a username, and it says, sorry, that username already exists. So I'm just editing the username until that message disappears, right? That username is now fine. So I need to remember that and click on continue. And as you can see, it says, congratulations, your site is live. I can click on this button to view my site. You can see there that that is my URL. I could just copy that and paste it into my address bar, but let's just click on the view my site link. And there we are. That's the site that has been set up. And when you go to that page, you'll see that we've got the WordPress dashboard showing and a welcome to WordPress. So we can click on these messages, just see what's going on, and then you're taken to your website. At the moment, what you're seeing is a navigation bar across the top that allows you to write new posts or to access various features of the dashboard. This bar across the top will only be there if you are logged in to your WordPress account. If I open up another browser and show you what it looks like when you're not logged in, let me just paste that into Firefox here. You'll see that we are taken to the website, but because we're not logged in, this is what a normal visitor would see. They wouldn't see the bar across the top. When you want to work on your site, you can use this bar across the top to go in, add new pages, new posts, whatever it is you want to do. That there is the WordPress dashboard for the free WordPress.com service. That is very different from the dashboard that you see when you log into WordPress.org. When you're looking at videos on YouTube about how to do certain things in WordPress, this is the version of WordPress that is more than likely going to be showing, the WordPress.org. It's the full version of WordPress that isn't limited in any way, and it's the version that this course covers. Now, if you want to follow my course using the free version of WordPress, you can. At least you can partly follow it. And the best way to do that is to actually open up a dashboard that looks a little bit more like this one, but on the free version. And you can do that quite easily. Go to your website and log in. Then we're going to put WP admin at the end of the site. And you can see that the dashboard has suddenly changed, and you've now got this dashboard which you can bookmark and then go back to, and you'll be taken to a login screen where you can log into your site and be taken straight to this dashboard, which looks an awful lot more like the one in my course. There are limitations though, and you'll find quite a few. Some of the most notable limitations are that you can't install any theme that you like on the free version. You can't install any plugin that you like on the free version, whereas in the WordPress.org you can install themes and plugins that you want to install. There are also setting differences. For example, in my course on the writing settings, I'll show you how to set up this update services so that websites get to know every time you produce new content, so the new content gets spidered and included quickly in search engines. On the free WordPress, that doesn't exist. So there's one good example of a difference in the settings, but you will find others as well. Since my course is about the WordPress.org version, we're not going to do any more on the WordPress.com version of WordPress here. If you want to learn just WordPress.com, I do have a separate course just for that one. But we're going to focus now on WordPress.org, which if you go over to, you can see that you can download WordPress to your computer. Ultimately, you're going to want to install that WordPress onto a web host so that your website is live and people can come and visit. You can have visitors, you can have comments and interaction, and you can sell things and do whatever you want from your website. That's the ultimate goal. If you're just learning WordPress, then there is an alternative that you might like to consider. When you're learning WordPress, you can actually install WordPress on your own computer. The advantage of that is that you don't have to buy a domain name, you don't have to buy any web hosting. So to install WordPress on your own computer, it's absolutely free. The downside is that while WordPress is on your computer, it's not available online. Nobody else can visit your website. For somebody to visit your website, you have to have a domain name, you have to have web hosting, and you have to have your website up on that web hosting. This course is going to show you, firstly, how you can install it on your own computer if you want to, just so you can learn WordPress without the expense of WordPress. And then it's going to show you how to install on a web host and then how to get to grips with WordPress and actually build a website that you can be proud of. I hope you haven't found any of this too confusing. It's not meant to be. The idea of this lecture is to show you that it is worth going with WordPress.org. Even if you don't want web hosting and a domain at this point, go with WordPress.org, learn the full unrestricted WordPress by installing it on your own computer if you have to, and then learn WordPress that way. Once you've learned this WordPress, you can always go back and have a look at the free one, because if you know the WordPress.org, the full unrestricted WordPress, you'll have no problem adapting to the free WordPress.com service if you decide you want to use that for anything, because you will know how to use it all. So without any more rambling, get yourself a drink of choice and let's get on and learn WordPress.